Hello, I'm doing this video for you today for three reasons really. One of them being, I think that a few of you put me on a bit of a pedestal when it comes to health, nutrition and fitness, and I want to kind of shatter the illusion for you and remove myself from that pedestal. I'll tell you obviously why that is in a minute. It's a lesson in here about putting yourself first, about deciding that your health and your happiness come before everyone else, and if you don't take care of them first, then you can't be there for the health and happiness of everyone around you. And there's a third lesson in that I want to share with you the symptoms I've been having and the journey I've had so far, in the hope that if any of you are experiencing anything similar, then you can learn from what I'm doing and what my plans are, and maybe take some of that and use it for yourself to get you into a happier and healthier place. So those are my three main reasons for doing this for you. For those of you that don't know, some do, I've had a bit of a journey just recently in terms of essentially what I suppose is a degradation in my health, both physically and mentally. And how long it's been going on for, a few weeks, it's come to a head, a few months it's been building up, but in truth some of the symptoms I've been having have been around for years, if not decades, and I've just not dealt with them before. And as with anything in life, I think just recently some of them have come to the point where I'm not willing to live with them anymore. Similar to a weight loss journey really, where you put weight on gradually, and you come to a point and it's inhibiting what you can do in your life to an extent that you're no longer willing to put up with it, and you draw a line in the sand and say that something needs to be done about it. Similar to that. The type of symptoms that I've been experiencing have been both physical and mental. So firstly as well, I want to say thank you for not telling me that I look like shit recently, because I honestly think that I have looked pretty damn ropey, pretty rough, and I think that's been a reflection of how I've felt internally, but none of you have said anything because you're just too nice, but I know I've not looked as healthy as I could do, and I know that that's a reflection of how I'm feeling internally, both physically internally and mentally internally. But the symptoms I've been experiencing from a physical perspective, and this has been an issue for a large part of my life, but again I've just brushed it under the carpet and passed it off as many different things, but I get, and have always had for as long as I can remember, a lot of digestive discomfort. So I will wake up in the morning and feel as I feel normal, should be normal. And as I progress through the day and I eat various things, and those things can change every day, and it doesn't seem to matter whether I eat really healthily or I don't eat healthily, it seems to have any bearing on what I eat, but I will get increasingly uncomfortable in my bowels, and I will get abdominal discomfort, I will get bloating, to the point where I look 6 to 8 months pregnant at the end of a day. That comes with more than normal numbers of visits to the toilet, not for diarrhea reasons or anything like that, but with a sense of urgency, because the discomfort gets to the point that I know will be relieved if I go to the toilet. So there's obviously something not right digestive wise, but I've always, like I say, just said that's the way I am, or that's eating my food too quickly, or whatever it is, I don't know. It's always been passed off as something else. But recently that's been getting worse. The bloatedness has been getting worse. The discomfort's been getting worse. Physical feelings as well that have been, again, worse more recently, and increasingly worse more recently, have been around tiredness and lethargy. And the only way I can describe it is that tiredness that you get when you're very early, when you're in the very early stages of pregnancy, in the first trimester, you know, where you absolutely have to sleep. You have there's no option but to sleep during the day. I'm talking about, obviously not at night. Not when you get into the second trimester and you get that renewed energy and you're fine again, but just I'll be doing stuff during the day that would never make me go to sleep that now would make me just fall asleep, stood up almost. And then the other, I mean, I've also had recently some UTI, urinary tract infections as well, which is generally a sign of being run down. But also from an emotional perspective, and these kind of come about as physical symptoms, but feeling really, and I can say depressed coming from someone who suffered from depression. As you know, I've had bulimia, and I've been on and off antidepressants for a large part of my life, so I know that feeling of being depressed, feeling out of the party, feeling like you're not in the same room as everyone else, you're not with everybody else. Bouts of crying for no good reason. I'll have the kids come up to me when I'm sobbing my eyes out, asking me what's wrong, and there is nothing wrong. Just I feel so sad and so unable to feel good. The tears just come and there's no way to stop them. I've spoken to my coach about whether there be a hormonal link to this, and we've tracked my moods, and we've tracked these depressive bouts or tried to track them to my cycle, and we have, but we've never been able to do it to any level of consistency. Sometimes it's mid-cycle, sometimes it's premenstrual, to the point now I'm thinking it's not necessarily hormone related. My periods are very regular. There's no other symptoms that would lead me to think they're not particularly heavy or anything like that, to think this isn't necessarily a hormonal issue when it comes to reproductive hormones, at least. Now I do a lot of reading, as you know. I read books on hormonal balance. I'm doing a lot of work on my nutrition certification at the moment. I read books on spirituality. I read books on mindset. I read a lot of books. And recently I've come across a few guys, kind of, what's the word? Professors not professors, but, guys that know what they're talking about in their field. I can't think of the word anyway. Professors in their field, for want of a better expression. And food intolerances have been something that have come up again and again as things that can cause these symptoms, all of them. And it led me finally, when I got to the point of thinking I need to do something about this, I'm not willing to put up with this anymore, of having a food intolerance test. And essentially, long story cut short, the food intolerances came back as only a very few but very ubiquitous ones. Wheat, yeast, eggs and dairy being the main ones. So I'm now making some steps to cut these out of my diet. It's going to be a long process. You shouldn't expect to see results for a good few weeks, if not a couple of months, because you need to take the irritants out, you need to heal the gut, you've got to give it time to repair itself. But there's every reason I should be able to introduce the foods that I've shown intolerances to now back into my diet later on. There's also the possibility that I'm suffering from candida overgrowth in the gut, and while I haven't done the tests for that, the only additional diet changes that would be, if that was to be the case, would be a reduction in sugar. So I'm taking it upon myself to reduce my sugar right down anyway, so that if candida is an issue, with some correct supplementation and some strong probiotics to re-establish my gut dysbiosis, then that should take care of itself anyway. So I've effectively put myself on a plan that I think will repair the physical issues that I believe are going on inside my gut, and then the physical symptoms should start to abate, and the mental symptoms and the emotional roller coaster should abate as well, and we'll see how it goes. But as part of that as well, there's definitely a feeling within me for a need for emotional recovery as well as physical recovery. We're in the lakes at the moment. Dan's off doing a run, but I took this opportunity to spend a few days on my own. He will be coming back later on today, and we're spending tomorrow together, but it gives me a few hours on my own on each of the days to just wander in nature. It'd be such a beautiful part of the country, and to restore myself emotionally as well as restore myself physically, which I think is a big part of the process. And I think we underestimate how powerful that is. We can do a lot to repair ourselves physically, but we don't often take the time out to repair ourselves emotionally as well. I'm cutting this video short because the last one I did on this was about 20 minutes long and it won't let me upload it, so I'm making this a shorter version. But I just wanted to say, like I said, really, I've drawn the sand in the line and decided that the way I have felt over recent months is not something I'm willing to put up with any longer. So I've contacted a few people, made some inquiries, taken some tests to understand what possibly could be the problem here. I think I've uncovered what that is, and now I'm taking the steps to put some corrective actions into place to sort it out, and not underestimating the emotional recovery side of that as well as the physical. If anyone else has and part of the first message was, if any of this is happening to you, don't feel that type of corrective action is a selfish act. It is selfish, but there's nothing wrong in that. It's looking after self is the most important thing you can do. I can't, in my current capacity and the way I've been feeling recently, look after my children anywhere near as well as I want to. I'm not there for them physically because I'm so tired, and I'm not there for them emotionally because I'm a crying wreck. So I needed to do something about me in order to be able to help them better. So that's one of the first messages. If you do relate to any of the symptoms and you want any of the resources that I've been using to help make my plans, the test that I took for the food intolerances, the lab that diagnoses gut dysbiosis, any of that, if you want information. I'm not a practitioner for any of them, but I've got the details if you want the details because you want to take similar tests. And the last one I think was the first point I wanted to make, that I'm equally as human as every single one of you. I don't have necessarily the same battles that you do, but I have different ones and they're no less significant. So I don't want you ever to think that I've got it all sorted, because I haven't. I'm on a journey with my health just like the rest of you are, and I think that that helps me relate to you better, because I'm not sitting here saying I've got it all sorted and what the hell are you whinging about, just get on with it, because I understand how difficult some of these things are to deal with and to make changes on. That's it really, that's all I wanted to say. But probably the most important message is, if you are suffering from any of this and you need to make the changes, don't think for a second that being selfish in that way is a bad thing. Being selfish in that way is a very, very good thing, because once you're back up and running, as you should be, feeling good, feeling happy, feeling energetic, feeling physically healthy, you are there 100% more than you are currently, for the people that you love. Okay, see you soon, ladies.